Chats with Trae. Chats with Trae. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Chats with Trae. I'm your co-host, Trae Holiday, and so excited to have you guys joining us today as we do a real deep focus on some youth community-driven initiatives led by JD Davis, who has Rodney the Raccoon out there. What's up, JD? Thanks for joining me.
Hey, what's up, Trae Holiday? Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, it's funny because there's not enough, I think, of what you do is really filling a very specific space when it comes to being able to have entertainment, but infusing that with education and creating this character of Rodney the Raccoon. And I got to be honest with you from the gate, I am not a fan of raccoons, right? But I love what you've done. I love what you've done with Rodney the Raccoon. We're going to get into Rodney a little bit later on in the show, but I really wanted to talk about you, JD Davis. What had you kind of say, you know what, I'm going to utilize my life force to kind of create this opportunity to be connected with youth like this?
One about the raccoons real quick, and I'll jump into the story. I always tell the kids, don't play with Rodney Raccoon's cousins, right? Like the Rodney Raccoon is fine, but leave his cousins alone.
Yeah.
Life's work around children, education, and entertainment. Naturally, most of us have entertainment in us, and our kids, we learn through entertainment, and we look at like the average songs, and those 300 words, and kids picking up on those things quite easily. And it was just like the natural next thing to do, like kids. During this time when we created Rodney in Tacoma, where I'm from, there was like a 46% graduation rate for high school students, for minorities. And our thing was, it's not that we're not smart, it's just the information may not be delivered in a way that's resonating with our people. And so when we came with Rodney Raccoon, we said, okay, we really can't catch the kids in high school. Maybe we should start a little bit sooner, right? So we started at that early childhood age and said, let's build this love for education and learning, and then use music, which we're automatically rhythmic people. And we just start putting it together, and kids start picking up on it. And so it just, one thing led to the next. And then, 10 years later, here I am still going.
Wow, 10 years in this.
Right. Yeah.
I think, it's so important. I love uplifting community-rooted solutions. And for you to be able to see the void, right? We know we talk about educational gaps all the time at Converge, and to do something about it. I think that's often where, people can talk all day long, but to create something that's like, no, we're going to actually be specific. We're going to be intentional in who we're here to address. How has it been building those relationships with youth, maybe youth-led initiatives or other community organizations? How has that really been?
So it seems like every time we get to a point where, maybe we're tired or something. So it's always like that community push, or a kid, or a story that comes in like right at that time that kind of just drives the mission. So of course we'll have a plan, we'll plan things out, but it's always a need that comes in place that then gives us the fuel to push forward. For example, we did a environmental education project, but a foundation reached out to us and said, we see the audience you have with kids. We're trying to teach them about polluted runoff and destroying the environment and how they can help keep it sustainable. Do you think you can design a program around this? It was like, well, absolutely, because it fits into our educate kids through media. And so that fueled us for the next couple of years. And, the kids learning the ABCs through English and Spanish through Rodney Raccoon, that fueled us for those few years. So it's always something that comes along, a story, a need that just keeps pushing us forward and forward and on and on.
Yeah, some of these things you just can't predict, I'm assuming, right? I mean, some of it is really just about being plugged into your community so that when folks are looking for a solution, boom, they know where to go.
Yeah.
And so that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about too, is the presence. When you talk about, Tacoma, we see it. Right here in Seattle Central District, we dealt with a wave of gentrification. I know that wave is hitting the hilltop right now. How has it been for you to stay plugged into your community in Tacoma?
So it's hitting the hilltop, the east side. Matter of fact, we just did a community event Saturday, just this past Saturday, did a kids block party, and just fun, bounce houses, Rodney Raccoon, Jed's Pizza did free pizza slices, kid face paint, all the above. to try to keep that plugged into the community because things are changing. We don't really teach economics to kids at this stage. So there's not a lot that we can do as far as the gentrification goes. But what we can do is always plug in and then provide resources to help, parents and then kids navigate through the system.
Yeah. How accessible have you been as an entity now? Rodney the Raccoon out there, the kids probably familiar, when you have the suit on or you have employees or whoever having the suit on.
Right.
How has it been for you to be able to be accessible to these communities and families and other organizations that are looking for your services?
So, it changes quite a bit. So, Rodney is a global brand. So we did a licensing deal with Discovery Education, and they put one of our projects in 3 million schools in 50 countries.
Wow.
We've taken Rodney and done all the largest kid festivals and things like that, and done on stage performances with him. But then we also, like I said, like you're saying, trying to stay plugged in with the community. They can always go to our website, go to wayoutkids.com. There's a contact page on there. You can reach us through that. And if we're available, we'll try to get out and things like that. But Rodney is a global brand, which I'm pretty sure we'll talk about as we move forward. So it's been a little bit more difficult now to get out to everything, to where in the beginning we was everywhere all the time, at every single event we could be to. But it's just been changing as time moves on.
Well, I think that's one of the things that I think a lot of community-based kind of initiatives or organizations, or like what you're doing, really, where as you build and you grow, there is this kind of push and pull where it's like now you got people all over the world who are looking for Rodney the Raccoon to come in.
Right.
And yet, you still have community that's like, wait a minute, we don't want to lose Rodney either.
Right.
So it's such a both and approach. And how have you been able to manage that? I know you're talking a little bit about it, but, just trying to be as plugged in as you can.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is about being able to weigh the opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Then
absolutely.
see, okay, well, this is something that's going to be super impactful for my local environment, my local community. And this is something that's going to be impactful globally. Maybe it's about a both end approach where folks that are connected locally can kind of understand some of those opportunities globally. Has that been something that you guys have been able to do?
Yeah. So, like I said, we just did the kids block party, and then here in Seattle, we did Juneteenth last year. So it's picking those events that have a larger impact. So we'll connect with people that's, okay, we're doing this Juneteenth event in Seattle. We're reaching this many people. Can you come out to that? Oh, that's perfect. Because that allows us to then stay connected to our community on a larger scale. Same thing in Tacoma or anywhere else. We try to look for those events that maybe are gathering a little more people, that we can touch the community as a whole instead of just like the individual small events. So we do try to reach a larger group by plugging in with people who are doing larger events.
Well, this is a great initiative. And again, shout out to you for having the vision, probably pulling your team together, right? To continue as you build. It's hard to kind of do things as a one-man show.
Right.
But let's talk a little bit about your team before we go to break.
Okay.
How has it been as you expand? You had this vision with some of those beginnings and then to where you got to now in terms of a team.
Yeah. So the beginning, it was pretty much my brother and I. My brother was a music producer at the time. He's now a preacher, but he was the music producer at the time. I was, no, not just us. It was another guy who wore the Rodney suit. And so it was pretty much us three in the beginning. And then as time went on, you have people come in, you have people go out, you have people come in. Our graphic designer, John, he's been with us ever since. So, but then you have other graphic designers come in and come out. So it's a fluctuating thing. But then when the new gig economy really hit, and we were able to then contract a lot of stuff out. So we do a lot of contracts with outside, whether it's marketing, whether it's video and design. We do a lot of outside contracting with animation companies and things like that, which is how we pretty much keep the ball moving.
You know what? I think that's a smart thing. You got to be able to understand capacity. And
Right.
sometimes having everything in-house isn't necessary. So
Hmm.
when you have these projects come up and you have the opportunities to do those contracts, it's important that, that's kind of also a part of providing equity too,
Right.
as you build opportunities for other people to be involved.
Hmm.
Well, sounds like you guys have a great foundation,
Yeah.
JD. I'm excited to get a little bit more
Let's
into
do it.
Rodney the Raccoon. After this break, you guys, stay tuned. You're watching Chats with Trae. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media. Welcome back, everybody, to Chats with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and joining me today is JD Davis of the Rodney the Raccoon brand.
Hey, hey.
Yes. I mean, I loved being able to dive in a little deep in the first segment here and learn more about the beginnings of what started this, what got you involved. It's time to get into Rodney the Raccoon himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you mentioned Juneteenth in the first segment there, and that is when I first experienced Rodney the Raccoon. And so I was like, wow, what a great idea. I was just thinking, I love that this is Black led. I got to be honest, right?
Okay,
because
right.
oftentimes, we see like kind of the suits and stuff, and you think Disney characters or you think some of those major brands, but to be innovative and say, no, this is a way for us to plug into the kids, to be bringing that educational platform in a fun way.
Absolutely.
So let's get into some of the things that Rodney the Raccoon has been able to do. You did mention Juneteenth. How has it been for Rodney as he's out there with the kids?
So the impact when we bring the character out, it's a whole nother game. It's like instant superstar, right? So when you do look at like those Disney characters and the attachment that kids have to characters, it was like for us, that attachment they have to Rodney. And then when the parents go dive in to figure out what Rodney is, and it's all educational, it just ties back into our mission, right? To educate and entertain. So to have something out there that I feel that I know represents education for our kids, and then the kids to love it the way they do, it feels like we're right on mission with what we need to do in life.
Oh my gosh. I just know that I witnessed it. I witnessed we had the child stage at Juneteenth last year, and Rodney the Raccoon came out, and everybody, all the kids were just like, what's up, Rodney? You know what I'm saying? And it was so interesting because I spoke to one of the parents who said, you know what, thank you so much for bringing, Rodney the Raccoon out, for having the insight to start connecting and plugging in with other people that are also brilliant in your own right, to bring them out to these kinds of opportunities because, kids also need that entertainment, right? We're going to have the main stage, all of these amazing acts, but you talk about it in this global brand, and you guys have expanded. I see here you guys have a book. I want you to be able to dive into the book and the other things that Rodney the Raccoon is up to.
Yeah, absolutely. So the children's book, Special Delivery, it actually came out of PBS Kids contacted me in 2016 and asked us, could we develop a television show around Rodney Raccoon? Because we've been around. So Linda Saminsky, who's the vice president, I think she's the head now at PBS Kids, reached out. JD, can you create a show around Rodney Raccoon, a television show? And then she explained, what do you have to do when creating a television series? So you have to create this whole transmedia package, which includes the television show, but then what are your one-offs? Your books, what are your games? What are all these things that go along that? What's your curriculum look like? And so we have put curriculum to most of the projects we've created in the past. And so when we start putting this package together for PBS Kids to pitch, and we brought all the educators together and everything, presented the package, and they didn't pick up the show. So it was like, okay, here we go. Well, they reached out again the following year. Can you create a show around Rodney Raccoon? This is perfect opportunity. We're looking for new producers and things like that. So we did it all again. Well, they didn't pick up the show. So being a producer, we say, you know what, we'll do it ourselves. So the book Special Delivery was the one-off based on our whole transmedia packet. So we're now creating an animated series, but Special Delivery is based on the first episode of the show.
Wow.
Which our first episode will be done here within like the next week or so, which is exciting in itself. So we put the voiceovers together. We're working with an animation company, put all the music in, everything's done. And we've been polishing it up over the last year or so with the first episode coming up. Within all of this, we got a co-production deal with the international animation company who's coming on. And it's part of those contracting and partnerships I talk about, you know, to where they have a staff of 600 people, which is the only way you can really create a series. And we have a team of, you know, 5 to 10 in between. So those partnerships and things are necessary to be able to push the brand forward.
Absolutely. I mean, you just laid out a lot there, honestly, JD, because it takes a lot to get these things up off the ground. What is Special Delivery all about?
So Special Delivery, like I said, so we are entertainment and education. Rodney Raccoon and his friends, they visit this place called the Sky Dome Science Museum. And they have a professor named Professor Batfish, and she sends them off on missions in the Sky Dome Science Museum. Now, what is the Sky Dome Science Museum? It represents 5 ecosystems, right? So you have the Arctic Dome, you have the Aqua Dome, you have the Woodland Dome. And these 5 different ecosystems, the Desert Dome, the characters travel to either learning about animals, the environment, and all these different things to figure out the clues, put the clues together that the professor gave them the day when they came in. So everything is all educational throughout, but it's an adventure. So they go on this adventure and they may have to gather the clues. Like one of the things, it's gather clues to figure out where you need to go next. So she gives them little clues along the way. They have to figure out what they are. So specifically with this, it's a penguin at the end. They have to find the penguin. So she'll say, what's black and white? You know, it eats fish, it swims. So they'll go to the Aqua Dome thinking it's in there, or they'll go here thinking it's there. But at the end of the day, it's in the Arctic Dome because penguins live in the Arctic. And so they'll put all the clues together and end up there.
You know, I think so much of when we talk about education, it has to be entertaining.
Absolutely.
You know, so much of what I do as a media person all the time is think about ways to fuse the two. So I've been using this term edutainment,
That's
right?
what it is.
And that's exactly what you're describing there. And to be honest, it's, as you were speaking, it reminds me of, you know, old shows like, you know, the Magic School Bus, right? Which was just similar to that, where it was like every episode was so educational. I mean, I was watching it with my 7-year-old recently because, you know, now everything is out. You know, you can still get all the old stuff, right? And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so educational. You know, we're sitting here, we're talking about how the bus gets small, it goes into these different ecosystems and environments, and they're learning all of this science behind it. So it really, the kids don't even realize they're learning, but they walk away with terminology and things that they maybe didn't have before. So I'm loving this. How has all of this really contributed to some of those in-person events that, you know, Rodney the Raccoon get dressed up in the suit? How is it infused in those environments?
So it's pretty much the same. It's a lot less or lighter education and more entertainment because it's more of a draw-in. Right. So I seen a post the other day someone made about us at the event, and they said the kid was like, Mom, Rodney Raccoon is dancing, you know, so we may come out to one of the latest hits and Rodney's come out doing all the latest dances because we'll always contract someone who's an actual dancer. And so, but then we just underlay it with the education part. So it is like the kids don't know they're learning, but they are learning, but it's the entertainment that draws them in.
You know, it's got me pumped up to see Rodney the Raccoon. I mean, as we're embarking upon summer again coming up, you know, there's always opportunities in Seattle and beyond throughout King County and Washington State. I know it's happening all over the country, but you know, for folks to be doing these festivals, to be doing these in-person events now, you know, COVID is kind of subsiding, you know, so there's a lot of opportunities. What are some of the things that Rodney the Raccoon may get into this coming summer?
Oh, wow. So the summertime, we're looking at attending some of the festivals, and it'll be, you know, maybe like 4 or 5 of them throughout the year because we're also putting on some events locally. But we'll love to get out to like the Juneteenth and things up here in Seattle because the Seattle community has always supported us from way back. some of the educators. I remember we would come out to, I think it's Zion Prep. Yeah, we used to come out to that school, and Tiny Tots Child Care Center and things like that. So we've always got support out in the Seattle community, and would love to come out to some of the festivals this summer.
Absolutely. Well, I can tell you this much. There's going to be plenty of opportunities.
Right.
I know I'm working on a bunch of different events, so I will be plugged in with you.
We'll
see if we can get Rodney out there again this Juneteenth. I feel like, we're creating traditions, and the kids get used to it. The families get used to it. And so many of these events are really about that intergenerational piece, right?
Mm-hmm.
And bringing your entire family out to support, to be involved. So much of it is that there's going to be upcoming opportunities for sure. What are some of the things that you're really hoping for in terms of expanding the brand, growing that global presence with Rodney the Raccoon as you look to the future?
So right now we are currently working on an animated television series, but we've done something a little bit different because we have to raise a couple $1 million. We looked into something called equity crowdfunding. So equity crowdfunding allows people to invest in the show, but also own a piece of it. And we're doing that through WeFunder, a WeFunder campaign. So WeFunder.com/WayOutKids. So basically it's like a Kickstarter, but it's investment. So with Kickstarter, you're more giving a donation and you may get a gift. Well, with WeFunder in our campaign, you make an investment and you own a share of the company. So WeFunder.com/WayOutKids. There's a lot of information on there. Our pitch deck is on there. There's a short video talking about the animated series. And in the pitch deck, you'll see who our partners are. But that's where the future holds, is creating this animated series that we already have global distribution for. So that's what we're looking at now, is getting the investment to do the animated series.
Amazing. And one of my last questions for you, JD, is how has it been for you?
Yeah.
You have this vision. It's 10 years in, you guys have grown so organically, so well, creating this global presence. How is all of this for you as a person who said, this is what I'm going to give my energy to. This is how I'm going to stay plugged in. And this is what I'm going to do with my life. How has it been?
It's rewarding. I had kids later in life. So seeing my little kids grow up on it. I was doing a podcast and my son barged in on me, and he's 2 years old and he started rocking his ABCs with Rodney Raccoon. And to see him do that in English and in Spanish at 2, and then my daughter was reading at the age of 3, it all fits in. One of the hardest things for us as we grow is letting go of some things. So because I'm so community minded, and I would rather just stay locked right into the community. But once we start bringing in investments, now we have a responsibility to push the global side of things. So one of the hardest things have been this past year is trying to let go of some things, that we can't be out at everything anymore. We can't do things like we used to. And then just more putting on that corporate hat to say, let's go ahead and make this company highly successful to bring in a return for our investors, but also sticking to the core of our mission, making sure we educate and entertain kids all around the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Kudos to you. Kudos to your team. It's a beautiful vision to sit and think about. This is what was needed, as you talked about those data metrics in Tacoma in particular for those students, and 46%, having issues with graduation. You said it. And that was probably the thing that said, okay, got to launch, got to do it this way. But then to be able to provide opportunities for kids globally, as we talk about reading and writing and being engaged in those levels of education, it's necessary.
Absolutely.
It really is. And so kudos to all of you guys over there at the Rodney the Raccoon team. And what you said, way up kids?
Way out kids.
Way out kids. Okay.
Yeah, way out kids.
Yeah, before I let you go, you can look directly into the camera, let people know how they can stay up with you guys and support the campaign.
Absolutely. You can go to wayoutkids.com. We have everything there on the website. There's a contact form there. You can contact us, or wayoutkids.com/ or WeFunder.com/wayoutkids. And that'll take you directly to our investment opportunity. But wayoutkids.com, it all has all that information there. So hope to hear from you or see you. If you make an investment, I will personally get an email, and more than likely I'm going to email you back and say thank you. And then you can see us at events coming up throughout the summer, because we're going to make sure we do what we need to do in the community.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
JD. Beautiful message. And
Yeah.
thank you again for joining me on Chats with Trae today.
Thank you, Trae Holiday. Thank you for having me out. I definitely appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well, you guys heard it here from JD Davis himself of Way Out Kids and Rodney the Raccoon, amazing global character that they have created to be, into the community, but also throughout the world with their edutainment platform, ensuring that they're bringing education and entertainment. You guys know it and you hear it from me often. Clearly JD has found a way to see himself as a part of the solution. When we talk about educational gaps, it is important that we infuse these gaps with innovative approaches, as he has done with Rodney the Raccoon. I'm always going to encourage you guys for you to find a way to see yourself as a part of the solution. Thanks for watching Chats with Trae today. You guys know every Friday at 2 p.m. we're bringing you another episode. Thanks, guys.
Chats with Trae. Chats with Trae.